Hello, my name is Sophie and I'm 17 years old and I turn 18 next year on January 20th. I live in a small town a little bit outside of Lund called Klokkerholm, and I've lived here my whole life. I live with my mom and my dad and our dog, but I also have two older siblings who no longer live at home. They moved out. They both live in Aalborg now. I have an older sister who's the oldest of us, and then I have an older brother. From kindergarten to 9th grade, I went to the local school here in Klokkerholm, and I thought that was a very good experience, and I had a great time for the 10 years I spent there. After that, I did 10th grade at an efterskole. It's called Stidsholt, and it's a little bit outside of Sæby. It was probably one of the biggest experiences of my life because I learned a lot about myself, and I've grown a lot because of it, and I've just become much less shy and more outgoing, which was my goal because I used to be very, very shy and very, very quiet. But it was a really good experience, and I've made a lot of great memories and many great friends. But I feel like there's a very big difference going from after school to gymnasium, and I can already feel that. But I've also been very nervous to start because I didn't really know what the teachers were expecting of us, and also what to expect with homework and how much time we have to, in our daily day, to do homework, how much time we have to spend. But I've been very nervous to start, but I think it's fine now that we started, so it is cool. But also at the after school I played football, and I've soccer, and I've played soccer for the last 10-11 years of my life since I was very little. And I just really enjoy the sport. I used to play on a team in Sæby before I went to after school, and I actually met my best friend there. Her name is Andrea, and she also goes to DG. She goes to NC. And I also really enjoy the football tournament at the school because I just love playing football, and I think it's so fun to play with the class and the girls, and we just have so much fun with it, and also we are winning our games so far, so that is great. In my spare time, I work in the local store in Klokkerholm, the only store that is here, and it's a menu. And I've worked there for the last 2 years of my life, and I really like it because it's only young people, or mostly young people, that I work with who also live here in Klokkerholm, so we all just know each other, and it's like really fun because it's like being with your friends all the time, except you're just at work. I also work with Josephine from our class too, and we just have so much fun at work, so it doesn't feel like working. In my spare time, I also really enjoy being social. I love spending time with my friends and my family, and that also comes from after school, that I've learned to become much more social, and I love that. That is also one of the reasons why I love playing football so much, because I really enjoy the social part of being on a football team. A fun fact about me is that I'm very clumsy. I fall all the time and drop or break things all the time. And this past year I've sprained my ankle 3 times. Twice at football games, football matches, and once at a party where I was trying to show off that I used to do gymnastics when I was younger, and then failing miserably. When and if I hopefully graduate Lund Gymnasium, then I would love to do a gap year traveling, because I really enjoy traveling, and me and my family, we do it a lot, and I'm very grateful for that because I've seen many different great places in the world. And also I would like to work and just travel in my gap year. And after that, maybe in the future, I would like to study law, because my dad he's a lawyer, and I've always thought that the job is very interesting, and there's also very there's many different aspects to it, or maybe working with people, being a nurse, or maybe a psychologist, I don't know. But The Flowers is about a young girl called Mayup, and she's an African American girl, and an example from the text that shows that is the stick clutched in her dark brown hand. That tells us her skin color. I think she comes from a poor family because they live on a farm in the South States in the US, and in the text it says they're living in a sharecropper cabin, and they grow their own food, they're self-sufficient, and they have no tap water, which I think shows that they're poor. In the story, she evolves and becomes much more mature and much more grown, because one day she goes down a new path, and she used to go with her mom, but one day she decides to make her own path. And another example from the text, she had explored the woods behind the house many times. Often in late autumn, her mother would take her. Today she made her own path, and that could symbolize her becoming more independent, and that she doesn't need her parents anymore, just like when you're growing up. In the end of the story, the mood starts changing. It starts becoming more gloomy. That could be some foreshadowing to what happens next in this story, because the next thing is that she finds a corpse who's all rotted. The corpse is wearing overalls, which could indicate that maybe maybe he was a farmer. I found another example from the text. All his clothes had rotted away except some threads of blue denim overalls. And that could maybe indicate that he also lived at a sharecropping farm, which maybe tells us that he also is an African American, and that because she found a noose where he was, that could maybe tell us that he was murdered by the KKK, because the KKK, they used to kill black people. After the slavery in the US was done, they killed black people. So that could tell us again that he's an African American, because there's a lot of signs that it's a KKK murder. In the end of the story, she lays down her flowers and lets go of them, and maybe that tells us that it's her letting go of her childhood and her innocence after realizing and seeing the hard truth and reality of life, and maybe her for the first time seeing and learning what racism is, because she, as said, she's a young African American girl. The last sentence in the story is, "And the summer was over." And that could symbolize her entering a new season of her life, her going into darker times, just like entering a darker season, because when summer is over, the season autumn comes, and that's a darker and more rainy season than summer, and that could also show her in the summer over and entering a new season could also show her entering a new period of her life and her growing up.